vaccine mandate has come down and said, listen, you can't permanently move your duty station if you're unvaccinated. Meaning if you're in Fort Benning, you can't move to Fort Jackson. Or if you're in South Korea, you can't move to your next permanent duty station in Texas with your wife and 2 kids. So for 8 additional months, this lieutenant was stuck in Korea and couldn't move back permanently to Texas. He had his order cut to go to a unit in Texas. But he could vacation and visit his family using up his vacation days in Texas.
Just because I want to fucking you weren't listening.
The poor guy
I'll fucking kill you if you're not listening, right? It wasn't that bad, though.
All by herself with her 2 kids.
I just thought you guys were a bunch of idiots. I was really concerned because you're all the med class.
Wow. Undue stress on the family there.
And you
I thought
were
the Army was supposed to be taking
condemned.
Special attention and taken care of. Oh, the poor Army here, they really take care of their wives and their kids and not make undue stress on them. But we're going to keep your husband here. And
You broke up with Emma. You hooked up with the chick that made a video.
Can't move there.
How to quit the army, quit the military, or whatever. And you're a big fucking idiot. Was it all a mistake? Was it? Was it?
Because now this guy's trying to put himself through medical school.
Hurting my legs.
Officer in the army. Wow, that's very advantageous for the military. This guy was enlisted, now he's getting an education through it and becoming an officer in the medical field. We should probably help him out, but you can't because he's unvaccinated. And since he's unvaccinated, he can't graduate. The government won't allow him to get his degree. Says, no, we're not giving out degrees if you're unvaccinated. Now the school's holding his degree. So you've got a guy in limbo who's completed all the training but won't get the certificate because he's unvaccinated.
No.
We're not
in limbo.
Close, though. But he's unvaccinated because of his religious beliefs. But we're
religion is what, though? Healing? Then heal, bitch. Take the vaccine, bitch.
Which are part of his religious beliefs.
So
these numbers, all these articles of saying these thousands of people that are putting in for religious exemption and then all getting blanket denied and these individuals being treated.
I always said you were like me. You weren't trying to wrap me up. Okay, don't worry. You're starting to heal and get better. I can tell. It's great.
It just seems like something's a little fucked up. Like there's like an intentional blockade preventing these people from exercising their religious rights. Wait a second, what's this? Well, this is a memo from the Inspector General of the Department of Defense to the Secretary of Defense. Well, what's it about? The denials of religious accommodation requests regarding coronavirus disease 2019 vaccination exemptions. And its purpose is to inform you,
are you going to come kill us?
Of potential non-compliance with standards for reviewing and documenting the denial of religious accommodation requests of service members identified through complaints submitted to my office. Oh, geez, that means people's religious rights are potentially being violated.
He's like, oh, darn.
Potentially, right? We found a trend of generalized assessments rather than the individualized assessment that is required by federal law and DOD and military service policies. Oh, no. Like DOD Instruction 1300.17? Foreshadowing. There's going to be a lot of links, and feel free to check them out. And they're going to have some of these denial letters in them. And by golly, if they don't look...
But I remind you that I was saying that the first time I ever witnessed death was to hunt Emma, because she's so anorexic. Why is she with us? Make sure she can run a marathon. And how much heart damage to come.
You know what? You're right. Oh, man. But Commander Green. Well, you know what? I brought him up in the beginning, and all I said was he had a religious objection, and then he got removed from command. Like, that didn't seem that bad. What? Did something else happen with Commander Green that would lead me to think that there might have been some sort of assembly line to automatically deny service members their religious accommodations to their religious objections? Oh, shit. Buckle up, baby. The U.S. Navy's here to tell you that religion don't mean dick. I don't know how arrogant of a command you have to be to put out a step-by-step process to automatically deny individuals their religious freedoms. But Commander Green, after seeing a step-by-step process, specifically a 50-step process to automatically deny individuals their religious beliefs. But what did Commander Green do? Well, he was able to give evidence to the suit of the U.S. Navy SEALs versus President Joe Biden that confirmed that there was an SOP, a standard operating procedure, for processing religious accommodations. And that SOP was drafted by the Navy's Manpower, Personnel, Training, and Education Office. Once again, I'm going to generalize this 50-step process for you, but 1 through 10 was a whole bunch of I having to do things and fill them out so that I can send it up to the next level. And step 15, like 15 to 20, was the
fired students.
The
They're
guy
not
that
in
sits in front
limbo.
of his desk and makes sure that your file has got all the right stuff in it. And part of that step that he goes through and looks at was to cut and paste your name, your date of birth, your religion and objection into a religious request denial form. Follow me here. You fill out your entire packet and you turn it in to your unit paper pusher. And your unit paper pusher picks up your packet before anybody else above you in your chain of command sees it and fills out a denial form for your religious exemption. All it needs is your commander's signature on it and it's processed. Before your commander sees it, before your commander's commander sees it, before a chaplain sees it, it's already got a filled out denial form in it, just waiting on a signature. Wow. So here we are. We have this chain, this assembly line in the Navy to automatically deny service members their religious exemptions. We have...
Okay, so Joey just said all this shit about this woman who cares that she's nudist, or at least taking her top off and her bottoms off, anywhere and anywhere, right? And she's like, what did she say again? She's saying that people hate her for it, and I just said, you need to realize nudity on women is not obscure. It's above average, and nobody hunting you or slightly retarded would care if you're in your panties, okay? Only retards and people hunting you would fucking care. Oh my god. Laura Jane Grace thinks that she's obscure, and the fucking Tom Gable is now Laura Jane Grace. And she thinks she's gonna be hated on because she's nude. Look at all the fucking celebrities. I'm at home in basics, and what, I'm now trying to uptake them. My God.
Members of the Navy and the Air Force having to sue the federal government because no religious exemptions are getting through, are being passed, are being approved, so they have to sue. And then they win. Both of them won. The federal government lost in federal court because they were blanket denying religious exemptions. Now, let's say that everything is totally fine, that there never was a COVID-19 vaccine or COVID-19, and this was just a bunch of service members requesting religious exemptions for a multitude of different reasons. Not honoring the First Amendment and blanket denying literally thousands of religious exemptions seems like a huge First Amendment rights violation. I can't say it is.
They have a skirt. They have a skirt slid up to their fucking clitoris. All this shit since the dawn of time. It's weird. Crazy, stingy, stinky fucking weird. For a man to try to change into a woman and be a woman naked and say they're the first one to ever be a woman naked. I'm telling you that.
How many service members committed suicide in 2020? It's 580. We had 6 times more deaths from suicide in 1 year than we did during the entire pandemic of people passing away from COVID. Put that in a more grand scale, there were 453,456 cases of COVID over the past several years in the DoD, and with 96 deaths, that makes it a percentage of 0.00021171. That's your chances of dying. And yet, we're willing to kick out thousands of service members for a vaccine that happened after the pandemic that even right now...
So what I take it for real is that Laura Jane Grace really has a problem with me.
As to how effective it was.
But what do I know? It's Joey. Didn't he literally like dabble with all kinds of drugs and overdose like 16 times in a year? Like, that's what he says. That's what his family says. Probably all fucking crazy just from their heretics and genes.
She got the Pfizer vaccine.
But maybe it is Laura Jane Grace.
Negatively affected her and it shut down her vagus nerve, which dumbed down version of it affects your
I'd hate to hate my best friend who was
it tells you when you're hungry and other important things like that. She went from a totally fine, physically fit female soldier into being as skinny as a rail. She weighed under 100 pounds.
Because Laura Jane Grace is Joey's brother.
Keep solid food down.
So maybe Laura Jane Grace is on his phone. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
This unnecessary injury. Now, she's not taking this while sitting down. She's fighting back the best that she can. She's filed a report in the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System so that her reaction can be documented to hopefully prevent this from happening to others in the future. But was this entire event necessary? Now, luckily, she's gained a little bit of some of that weight back, but unfortunately, this is going to affect her every single day for the rest of her life. So now that we no longer have a mandate, here's my personal thoughts on the mandate. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, all military personnel's rights away. It obviously violated the religious rights because why would you have such an obvious assembly line in order to automatically deny people? And I haven't even gotten to the armies yet. The memo talking about the vaccine and making it mandatory came out a year after Afghanistan. So a whole year after having military members feel lost, feel useless, feel as though what they did didn't matter, the United States government decided to tell them that if you don't do this one thing, we're going to kick you right out. Thanks for
how many fucking
and a boot in the ass on the way out.
Bullet marks do you have on your chest?
Service members feeling?
Shrapnel.
Did anybody even think about that?
That was
1 year after the fall of Afghanistan, where troops are hurt, torn, and confused, you gave them an ultimatum, an expiration date on their integrity. Regardless of how you feel, you'll either get this or you're gone. Thanks for your service. Now get the fuck out. You take people who had multiple tours overseas, lost friends, probably ended up wounded themselves, or walked back home with the invisible wounds and then gave them dishonorable discharges. So much for your benefits, Staff Sergeant. See you never. The memo says that the DoD followed the rules and respected religious rights and freedoms. But these examples say otherwise. But here's the bombshell.
That little bitch.
That I saved just for this moment.
The one that used to go to the gym and say she was part of my education, which she wasn't. In Prince George at the fucking Heart Gym.
But it allows me
that one
to have people in positions
Staff Sergeant
all over the place send me information so that I can then better inform you about what's going on in the military, DOD, government. Some of those people were directly involved in the religious exemptions. One such person works at the National Guard Bureau, the head of the National Guard near DC. Because what they told me was that all the Army religious exemptions sitting on the desks in the National Guard Bureau were also going to be disapproved. Let me tell you that story real quick. I filed for a religious exemption for the COVID-19 vaccination. I'm unvaccinated. I've gotten just about everything else from the United States government, but I felt uncomfortable taking the vaccine because I didn't think it had enough time in the trial phases to see if there was any negative repercussions. Already had COVID. I'm a healthy 30-something-year-old guy. I'll opt out. Here's my religious exemption. I had to fill that out in December of 2021, get counseled by a chaplain, and had that packet moved up to the National Guard Bureau in February of 2022. It is now January of 2022. Vaccine mandate no longer in effect. And I have yet to receive any information, so as every other National Guard member, about their religious exemptions. Thousands of us had a deadline to meet, met it, turned in the appropriate paperwork to people high above me who have no idea.
So you want to get shot too?
But there was no deadline for them to get that with either our approval or disapproval, rejection of our religious exemptions. Boy, I'd love to see your congressional investigation into why did it take so long to sign off on a religious exemption? And why are people saying, specifically to me, that are a part of that process or around it, that these religious exemptions were going to be blanket denied, just like the two other branches? Now, that's a question you might want to ask your senator or congressman, especially if you're in the Guard or one of those individuals that filled out a religious exemption and never received an answer. I'm sure Governor Ron DeSantis, who's got a whole bunch of guardsmen in his state, who probably put up religious exemptions for the vaccine, would love to know why so many of his troops didn't get an answer. Let him know. Send out the feelers. He was a Navy JAG officer. I'm sure he might have some questions and answers into the process of all this. Did you know that there's a head chaplain for the National Guard?
Oh, now I don't need food.
Works at National Guard Bureau.
I catch a drift.
Yeah, it's a former colonel, actually.